Well, it's 10 a.m. You're watching Breakfast News on Rajya Sabha TV. I'm Tina Jha. Let's start with the top stories this morning. Last day of current session of Rajya Sabha today, Congress to move privilege motions against Swami and Manohar Parrikar, accusing them of lying in the House during the Augusta Westland debate. Supreme Court to hear rebel Uttarakhand MLAs plea against disqualification. Chief Minister Harish Rawat meets Sonia Gandhi in Delhi, rules out snap polls. War of words between centre and Kerala state government over Libya evacuation. External Affairs Minister and Chief Minister Oommen Chandy take credit for safe exit of Indians from the war-torn country. Enforcement Directorate asks Interpol to issue red corner notice to extradite businessman Vijay Mallya. Move comes after United Kingdom refuses his deportation. And former Vice President of Brazil, Michel Temer, takes charge as interim president after Dilma Rousseff's suspension. Temer announces cabinet vows to rebuild economy in his address to the nation. It is the last day of the current session of the Rajya Sabha today. The budget session of Parliament had begun on the 23rd of February and concluded on the 16th of March. There was the scheduled recess between the first and the second parts. However, the session was prorogued to allow promulgation of an ordinance to bring and pass a vote on account for Uttarakhand, which was under President's rule then. So the House was prorogued and the second part of the budget session began as a new session on the 25th of April. This session was to end on the 13th of May as per schedule. However, Lok Sabha was curtailed in view of the last leg of campaigning for assembly elections in Kerala and Tamil Nadu, besides the fact that the government had already completed the important legislative business it planned to accomplish in this session in the lower house. On Thursday, the upper house was adjourned following the death of a sitting Congress member, Praveen Rashtrapal. And as we told you, Rajya Sabha was adjourned for the day yesterday after the sad demise of sitting Congress member Praveen Rashtrapal. Rashtrapal died in New Delhi early yesterday after suffering a massive heart attack.
Rajya Sabha condoled the death of Congress member from Gujarat, Praveen Rashtrapal. Rashtrapal became member of Rajya Sabha in April 2006 and was re-elected in April 2012. He was also elected to the 13th Lok Sabha in October 1999. Rashtrapal retired as Assistant Commissioner of Income Tax and was associated with the trade union movement of income tax employees.
I refer with profound sorrow to the passing away this morning of Shri Praveen Rashtrapal, a sitting member of the House. Born in December 1939 in Gandhinagar district of Gujarat, Shri Rashtrapal was educated at the Siddharth College, Mumbai. Shri Rashtrapal represented the state of Gujarat in this House from April 2006 to April 2012 and again from April 2012 till his sad demise. In the passing away of Shri Praveen Rashtrapal, the country has lost a distinguished parliamentarian, a noted trade unionist and a dedicated social worker. We deeply mourn the passing away of Shri Praveen Rashtrapal.
Members also stood in silence as mark of respect in the memory of the departed. Later, the House was adjourned till Friday. This is Kriti Mishra's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
And the Congress party will be giving privilege motions against BJP leader Swami as well as Defence Minister Manohar Parrikar in Rajya Sabha today. The party is accusing them of lying blatantly during the Augusta Westland debate. The Congress has announced that it will file a defamation case also against a US-based website whose material was used by Swami in the Rajya Sabha debate. The party has alleged that the website is linked to the Sangh Parivar. Remember, today is the last day of the upper house during the current session.
कांग्रेस पार्टी कल ही डॉक्टर स्वामी के खिलाफ एक प्रिविलेज मोशन मूव करने वाली है और हम छोड़ेंगे नहीं, क्योंकि इस आदमी ने 4 तारीख को राज्यसभा में झूठ बोला है, भयंकर झूठ बोला है।
And biennial elections to 57 Rajya Sabha seats, including the one vacated by liquor baron Vijay Mallya, will be held on the 11th of June. The elections have been necessitated as 55 members from 15 states are retiring between June and August this year. One seat each from Rajasthan and Karnataka, vacated by Anand Sharma and Vijay Mallya respectively, will also go for polls. Out of the total 57 seats, a majority of 14 each belong to BJP and Congress. While 6 members belong to BSP, 5 are from JDU, 3 each from Samajwadi Party, BJD and the AIADMK. 2 members each belong to DMK, NCP and TDP, while 1 member belongs to the Shiv Sena. Among the prominent members retiring are Union Ministers Venkaiah Naidu, Birendra Singh, Suresh Prabhu, Nirmala Sitharaman, Piyush Goyal and Mukhtar Abbas Naqvi, former Minister Jairam Ramesh, JDU leader Sharad Yadav and senior lawyer Ram Jethmalani. The notification for the polls will be issued on the 24th of May. The retiring members will be giving their farewell speeches in the upper house today. And shifting focus to some other news now, the Enforcement Directorate today requested the Interpol to issue a red corner notice to Vijay Mallya in connection with the money laundering case. Now, the move comes a day after the United Kingdom refused to deport Mallya, who is currently residing in the UK as per British laws.
The Enforcement Directorate on Thursday asked Interpol to issue a red corner notice to extradite businessman Vijay Mallya. The move comes after the United Kingdom government denied his deportation under British laws. UK says it cannot deport Mallya because he came with a valid passport, but can consider if India seeks his extradition.
विजय माल्या भाग जाएंगे, ये ऐसी आशंका शायद थी भी नहीं, क्योंकि उसके इंडस्ट्रीज इत्यादि हैं यहाँ, और जो बैंक्स इसके लिए कार्रवाई कर रहे थे, सरकार नहीं बैंक्स कार्रवाई कर रही थी अपने राशि वसूलने के लिए, तो बैंक्स ने संभवतः जब केस वगैरह दाखिल किया, जैसे ही केस दाखिल किया उसके बाद ही माल्या भाग गए। तो ये मामला पहले बैंक्स और माल्या के बीच में था, सरकार तो बाद में आई जबकि मनी लॉन्ड्रिंग वगैरह का मामला सामने आया।
It's coming too late in the day. It should have been activated long back. Now that steps are being taken, I think his wealth across the world should be taken back, and through the due process of diplomatic activities, and I think they have failed in UK, but I am sure they will be able to activate it across the globe and at least recover the money that he owes the banks and the employees of the Kingfisher Airlines.
Mallya and his firm Kingfisher Airlines owe over 9,000 crore rupees to at least 17 Indian banks. He flew to London on 2nd of March when the banks tried to recover money from him. The ED is also considering attaching domestic assets and shares worth about 9,000 crore rupees owned by Mallya. It's also looking at whether Mallya used part of a loan to buy properties abroad, which he has denied. A Mumbai court has also issued an arrest warrant, but so far Mallya has ignored all such orders to return and face investigations. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Uttarakhand Chief Minister Harish Rawat met Congress President Sonia Gandhi in New Delhi yesterday. After the meeting, Rawat said that the party is not thinking of snap polls in the state right now. He further said that the focus of the state government will be to restore development work. There has been speculation that Congress may go for a snap poll to clear uncertainty with the issue of disqualification of its 9 MLAs still pending before the Supreme Court. Rawat also earlier met Governor K.K. Paul along with his cabinet colleagues a day after being reinstated as Chief Minister. Rawat also held his first cabinet meeting on Thursday after taking charge.
डेवलपमेंटल स्ट्राइक को एक झटका लगा है। हमको फिर से वहाँ के डेवलपमेंट को, सारे मोमेंटम को, विकास के मोमेंटम को पटरी पर लाना है, और हमारे सामने इस समय हमारी कैबिनेट के सामने भी, गवर्नमेंट के सामने भी सबसे बड़ी प्राथमिकता यही है, और हम उसी पर फोकस बनाए हुए हैं।
And in related news, the Supreme Court will today hear a rebel Uttarakhand MLA's plea against her disqualification in the State Assembly. The rebel Congress MLA on Thursday moved the Supreme Court challenging the Uttarakhand High Court's judgment upholding the Speaker's decision to disqualify her in the Assembly. Congress MLA Shaila Rani Rawat was disqualified along with 8 other MLAs who had already challenged the High Court decision in the Apex Court but were refused any relief of stay before the 10th May floor test. The Supreme Court has clarified that they will remain disqualified unless it allows their petition. We'll slip into a very short break here. Lots more coming up on the other side. Do stay with us.
Translation means converting knowledge into products useful for improving the quality of life. So we need to apply that knowledge to find solutions. And that is what we are trying to do in this institute. Somebody who has understanding of biology, somebody who has understanding of medicine, somebody who has understanding of engineering. If a team is put together, can we then develop novel diagnostics?
Watch Eureka with Dr. Sudhanshu Brati, Dean at Translational Health Science and Technology Institute, only on Rajya Sabha TV.
Thanks for staying with us on Breakfast News. Well, 29 Indians, including 6 families from Kerala and 3 from Tamil Nadu, returned home after being evacuated from Libya. The rescued Indians landed at the Kochi International Airport yesterday. Family members were present there to receive them when they arrived in Kerala. Several of those evacuated were working in Zavia Hospital in Libya's Sabrata city. Their families urged the Indian government to evacuate them after a nurse and her son from Kerala died in a shelling at their house in March this year. Libya has been torn apart among rival militias, tribes, governments and parliaments since the political turmoil that overthrew Muammar Gaddafi 5 years ago to build a power base backed by the rebellions.
The situation is getting very worse, but some areas it was far better. How to explain? I can't explain. We struggled so much, that's why I can't explain.
Libya खराब है. अभी बहुत प्रॉब्लम है अभी. प्रॉब्लम मतलब क्या अभी दो तरफ फैमिली है ना, फैमिली जो फाइटिंग है ज्यादा. ये बाद में क्या है, गवर्नमेंट नहीं है अभी, 4 गवर्नमेंट है और कुर्सी के लिए लफड़ा चल रहे हो, कुर्सी के लिए. तो अभी जिसके पास ताकत ज्यादा है, बंदूक ज्यादा है, वो आगे जाएगा.
And time now for all the election updates in our segment Verdict 2016. In an escalating war of words between the centre and the Kerala government, External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj has hit out at Kerala Chief Minister Oommen Chandy. In a series of tweets, Swaraj credited the centre for evacuating Indians, including Keralites, from the war-torn regions outside the country. Chandy had raised objections to Prime Minister Narendra Modi's speech in Kerala, where the Prime Minister had said that the centre had saved people and evacuated families from war-torn Libya.
It was thanks to the embassy's intervention that their salaries were paid and their exit visas were issued, and they were able to safely return to India today by commercial airlines. As External Affairs Minister had also tweeted, this is our pious duty towards our citizens.
And earlier on Thursday, Chandy also slammed Prime Minister Modi and urged him to correct his statement that the infant mortality rate among scheduled tribes in Kerala is worse than that of Somalia. At a press conference held in Kochi, the Chief Minister said the Prime Minister's statement was inaccurate, but he has maintained silence on the issue so far.
അതെല്ലാം ഒരു നിമിഷം കൊണ്ട് രാജ്യത്തിന്റെ പ്രധാനമന്ത്രി തട്ടിത്തെറിപ്പിച്ചിരിക്കുകയാണ്. അത് തെറ്റാണ്, തെറ്റ് പറ്റിയതാണ് എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞിട്ടും അതിനെ നിഷേധിക്കാനോ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ അത് തെറ്റായിട്ട് ഉദ്ധരിച്ചതാണ് എന്ന് പറയാനോ തയ്യാറാകാതെ അദ്ദേഹം പിന്മാറിയിരിക്കുകയാണ്. ഇത് വളരെ ഗൗരവത്തോടു കൂടിയാണ് കേരള ഗവൺമെന്റ് കാണുന്നത്.
On to some other news. India reacted to the execution of top Islamist leader Motiur Rahman Nizami, who was hanged on Tuesday in Bangladesh. MEA spokesperson Vikas Swarup said India was supportive of the judicial process to ensure justice in war crimes committed during the movement for the independence of Bangladesh in 1971. The 73-year-old leader of Bangladesh's largest Islamist party had refused to seek presidential clemency. Nizami's final appeal against his death sentence for war crimes was rejected by the Apex Court on the 5th of May. Foreign Secretary S. Jaishankar, who is currently in Dhaka for bilateral talks, expressed strong support to the neighbouring country in its efforts to fight against terrorism and extremism.
Foreign Secretary Dr. Jaishankar conveyed India's strong support to Bangladesh in its fight against extremism and terrorism, particularly in response to recent attacks against vulnerable sections of society. The visit was useful in preparing the ground for the next meeting of the Joint Consultative Mechanism Commission led by the two foreign ministers, which is scheduled to be held in Dhaka in the second half of 2016.
Pakistan and Bangladesh have summoned each other's ambassadors to register strong protest in connection with the row over the execution of an Islamist leader in Bangladesh earlier this week. That's Motiur Rahman Lakhvi we're talking about. Bangladeshi envoy Nazmul Huda was summoned to the Foreign Office a day after Pakistan issued a statement expressing sadness over the unfortunate hanging. Pakistan's National Assembly also passed a resolution condemning the execution. Pakistan called Bangladesh's attempts to malign Pakistan regrettable. It further reminded Bangladesh of the 1974 tripartite agreement, according to which Nizami should have been pardoned as an act of clemency. In what appeared to be a tit for tat, Pakistan's High Commissioner Shuja Alam was later called at the Foreign Office in Dhaka, where he was handed over a strong verbal note. Bangladesh also strongly protested against a press release issued by Pakistan condemning Nizami's execution. 73-year-old Nizami's execution is linked with Pakistan as he was convicted for supporting Pakistani army in Bangladesh's liberation war in 1971.
We have a serious concern on this. We have expressed our concern, which is pretty evident and quite elaborate in our press release, which we have issued yesterday. And I think we have, as I mentioned, that we have also called in Bangladesh Shahji Affair to register our concern on this issue through diplomatic channels.
And in a scathing attack on Pakistan, Afghanistan accused the country of using violent behavior and ideology to promote Taliban. Without naming Pakistan, permanent representative to the UN, Nazifullah Salarzai blamed the neighbouring country for supporting and promoting Taliban as well as taking advantage of weaknesses emerging from the prolonged conflict in Afghanistan in pursuit of political objectives. Salarzai was speaking at the UN Security Council open debate on countering the narratives and ideologies of terrorism. He said brutality against civilians began with the Taliban, since it was the terror group that started stoning women to death, preventing women from pursuing the livelihood and introducing suicide attacks that brutalized Afghanistan's entire population. The ambassador said that it was because of the Taliban that Afghanistan became the jumping board for international terrorism. On to Brazil now, which has undergone a major political transition. After the suspension of the country's first female president, Dilma Rousseff, her former vice president, Michel Temer, has taken charge as the interim president. Soon after being appointed, Temer announced his cabinet comprising of 22 ministers, all men. Addressing the nation, Temer said Brazilians need to have confidence that Latin America's biggest country would overcome the ongoing crisis that's been marked by a deep economic recession, political volatility and a sprawling corruption scandal. Brazil's new interim president, Michel Temer, swung into action soon after taking charge, swiftly appointing a new cabinet, addressing the nation and vowing to rebuild the country's economy. Temer named an all-men, business-friendly cabinet that includes former central bank chief Henrique Meirelles as finance minister. Speaking to his cabinet ministers, Temer said his government's priority is to build trust in the values of people.
Em minha primeira palavra ao povo brasileiro é a palavra confiança. Confiança nos valores que formam o caráter de nossa gente.
He also stressed that economic vitality is his key task and that he would do everything to protect and expand economic and social programs.
No concerto interno e no concerto internacional,
fator necessário para que empresários dos setores industriais, de serviços, do agronegócio e os trabalhadores.
Meanwhile, suspended President Dilma Rousseff denounced her removal as a farce and sabotage, alleging she's been a victim of injustice. She vowed to continue her legal fight.
Não cometi crime de responsabilidade. Não há razão para processo de impeachment. Não tenho contas no exterior. Nunca recebi propinas. Jamais compactuei com a corrupção. Este é processo frágil, juridicamente inconsistente, processo injusto.
Rousseff, Brazil's first female president, was impeached after a nearly 20-hour-long debate in the Senate to reach a decisive result. Senators then voted by 55 votes to 22 to suspend her and put her on trial for budgetary violations. She was immediately replaced by her former Vice President Michel Temer, who will hold charge for up to 180 days, the maximum time allowed for the impeachment trial of Dilma Rousseff. But analysts say Temer's popularity ratings are as bad as Rousseff's, and he faces many challenges. Brazil at this point is suffering from its worst recession in 10 years. Inflation is at a 12-year high and unemployment has gone up drastically. Also, the political turmoil could have an adverse effect on the Rio Olympics, as a new committee will now take over the management of games. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
4 suspected bomb makers were killed and 17 people wounded last evening when an explosion ripped through a village in southeast Turkey. 5 military personnel and 3 civilians were injured and 1 seriously injured. No group has claimed responsibility so far for the attack. However, the attackers are believed to be part of the Kurdistan Workers' Party. A massive crater was caused by the explosion in the field. Electricity in parts of affected areas had been cut and homes near the blast site severely damaged. The blast followed a car bomb attack near a military facility earlier in the day in an Istanbul suburb that wounded at least 7 people. Turkey has been hit by a series of bombings this year, including 2 suicide attacks in tourist areas of Istanbul claimed by Islamic State and 2 car bombings in capital Ankara, which killed a total of 66 people and were claimed by a Kurdistan Workers' Party. Time now for all the sporting action in Sports Beat. The uncertainty over whether 2-time Olympic medalist Sushil Kumar will represent India in Rio Games has increased. The Indian Olympic Association has received the list of probables from the Wrestling Federation of India, in which Sushil Kumar's name has not been mentioned. On the other hand, Narsingh Yadav's name has been added in the list for 74 kg freestyle category. The International Olympic Committee Medical Director Richard Budgett was said there was no need to delay the Rio Olympic Games because of the Zika virus threat. Budgett was responding to the remarks made by the Canadian health professor Amir Attaran about the horrendous result of the deadly virus. Canadian Soccer Association President Victor Montagliani was elected CONCACAF President on Thursday, beating out FIFA Appeals Panel Chairman Larry Muzenden 25-16 in a vote at the FIFA Congress in Mexico City. Montagliani is the 3rd CONCACAF President in a year. He will be tasked with leading the confederation as it tries to recover from corruption and scandal that it was rocked by last year. Everton sacked their manager Roberto Martinez on Thursday after a poor season which has left them languishing in 12th place in the Premier League. The team reached the semi-finals of the League Cup and FA Cup, but Martinez's side have underperformed in the league despite boasting a squad many regard as Everton's best for years. Serbian Novak Djokovic overcame a terrible start to his Italian Open third-round match against Thomas Bellucci on Thursday to progress to the quarterfinals and a meeting with Rafael Nadal. The top seed failed to win a game in the first set, winning just 8 points, but came back to win 0-6, 6-3, 6-2 against the unseeded Brazilian. And that's all we have for you in this bulletin. We'll head into a short break, after which the Parliament news will follow.